Moto and Himalayan 650 have been spotted in your territory. Go get him. I'm on it.
No more playing chase, Masked Moto. Let me welcome you to the Very Good Show.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Very Good Show. A very warm good morning to you from the mountains. After building my Intercepted and doing all the experiments that I've done in the past 1 year on my GT, I've been looking for people who are as crazy as me. And somehow I found somebody who is crazier than me. And his name is Rishi Saini, who is also known as Masked Moto. Welcome Rishi, how are you doing?
All well, thanks for having me, Barry.
No, thank you for letting me chase you and stop you, because you are unstoppable.
I mean, that's just how I ride, man. It has to be spirited, otherwise it just gets boring for me. That's why it's just getting crazier. Even the bike is getting crazier. Anyone who looks at it is like, what is that? What is that? And I mean, it was just last Sunday, I was just riding towards Kasauli, and there was a group of, Harley riders. And I just stopped, close to them in front of some cafe. And, these guys were like, what bike is this? I was like, it's a GT. They're like, isn't the GT like this? I was like, it was like this, but I rode the GT for like that for quite some time. And then I just thought that, if I want a tour, it has to be a bit more comfortable, right? And then I just wanted to make it a bit more, capable of roads.
So, but Rishi, what happened to the spirited riding? As everybody who purchases a GT, there are only 20% of the people who buy the GT, right? The rest of them buy the Interceptor. But GT is for people who like spirited riding, like you just said. Now, why did you convert it to something like a Himalayan?
Well, I did this conversion almost after, I would say, 18 months of owning the bike.
Okay.
So I got very used to and sort of started getting bored of that cafe racer stance.
Okay.
And, these days because of the pandemic, of course, you cannot go on, long distances, and you cannot travel off-road, on roads and into the mountains.
You can't travel. You couldn't travel until last month. You couldn't travel much on the main road.
So I thought that, okay, let's try doing some trails, right? But of course, the first thing I had to do was change the handlebar. So of course I switched that to make it more comfortable so that I can stand a bit more easier. But then the suspension is just not capable enough, right? First of all, the stock suspension is very soft. Okay, if you stand, you hit a pothole, you hit a rock, it's gonna bottom out, and then you're gonna get all those shocks. So I did some suspension tweaks initially, right, just to make it a bit more stiff, but it was just not to my liking. Then I have a good friend in Patiala. He owns a couple of dealerships over there, Royal Enfield dealerships. Yeah.
You're talking about Jaideep?
Yes.
Okay.
It's Jaideep. So he told me that we can do something like this, but I did not want to go for an all-out 21-inch front rim. So I thought, okay, what can we do? So we took parts from the Himalayan and sort of modified stuff, which of course we'll talk about later.
So Rishi, can you tell us about your motorcycling history? Which all motorcycles have you ridden in the past? And how have you ridden primarily? Have you always been leaning in the mountains, or is it because you live in Panchkula and mountains are pretty close to you? So I think it's quite a home for you.
Yeah, it's pretty, I'm very used to it. Riding in the mountains, and of course it's more of a self-taught thing. Just looking at these YouTube videos and how do people go about corners, what do you need to do, what do you have to do, what do you not have to do, the weight transfer and stuff. And luckily the boys I ride with, they have been riding, since a long time. They are young. They are like 22, 23. I'm much older to them, but they've been riding since the last 4, 5 years. So I learned a lot from them. And then of course I did some learning myself, and more of this was just experience.
So which all motorcycles before this?
So I have not been riding for so long. It's just been about 4 years now.
Point to be noted. He's a new rider, and he is leaning everything when he's on his motorcycle, including the motorcycle. He's hanging on the road. Oh God.
So actually, the interest for motorcycles started a long time ago. I think I was in my first or second grade, and there was a video game that came out at that time. It was called Road Rash.
Oh, Road Rash, yes, I played it.
And I was so fascinated by that because I just wanted to have a bike and just
bash people.
I mean, not go all the way like that, but yeah, it always fascinated me. But of course, in India especially, we don't have a lot of facilities. We don't really know what to do, how to actually
So
go about
basically,
it.
you were impressed by the freestyle riding.
Yes.
You just ride.
Yeah, just ride, and
No much of jargonism and or technical things about motorcycling.
just pure motorcycling.
That is what we also believe.
And then what I of course did, of course every kid has a cycle, right?
Correct.
So to try to get those positions, I used to get the pedal up, try to lean on the side, because I used to live in Srinagar at that time. My dad used to serve in the forces, and he was posted there. So of course we were in the mountains. I used to go, around the turns and all that, try to lean, but of course it didn't happen. And then in college, my parents told me that they'll get me a bike. So I was like really happy that, okay, right after school, I'll finally get a bike. But then I was into sports, and then someone told my parents that, if you get him a bike, he falls and he's gone. So then they gave me a car.
Okay.
But then, like 4 years back, when my dad retired, he got himself a Thunderbird 500.
Okay.
So he obviously didn't get much time to ride. So I was the one who was exploiting the entire thing.
So Rishi, can you tell us something about your personal life or professional life? What do you do for a living?
Yeah, so I have been a sportsman all my life. I used to be a professional golfer. I used to be. I don't play anymore.
Okay.
So right since the age of 7, I've been into golf and playing competitively. But then of course things happen, and then you are forced to change your line. But I always wanted to stay close to the game. So what we do right now, we run a sports analytics company, and we do statistics for golf, especially for the competitive golfer. So the data analysis and really digging down into what and how you can improve your performance on the golf course. That is what we do, and this is what I do for fun.
Nice. That's an interesting profession.
Yeah.
Well, not many people.
You'll see a lot of golfers who are very enthusiastic riders as well.
Yeah, of course. It is also a sport. So if you are a sportsman deep down in your heart, and that is how you also get into motorcycling.
Absolutely.
As you see, a lot of army men, like your father, you just said, he has served in the forces.
He has.
So they have a great love for motorcycling.
Absolutely.
Right. So that's how it is. Rishi, we've been told that your dad also rides an Interceptor 650.
Yeah.
So what made you to buy two motorcycles with the same engine and the same chassis?
So it's a really interesting story. So when I finally decided that okay, now I need to buy a bike of my own, I went out hunting, looking at, it was almost like for 1 year I looked at different bikes, and of course the twins weren't in the market at that time.
Which other bikes?
So I first looked at the Ninja 650.
Okay.
Then I looked at the Benelli 600i.
Okay.
Then I went to BMW. I tried the G310R or G310 GS, but of course they were too underpowered.
Yeah.
And then I went to Triumph.
Okay.
And I
For
tested.
the Bonnie?
Yeah, the Street Twin.
Street Twin, yeah.
And
That's
there
a great
were
motorcycle bike.
Yeah, exactly. So there was something just about all that retro charm, right? I was like, I can keep this for life. I can keep this bike.
That's how modern classics are.
Exactly.
You keep playing with them, keep changing them.
Yes.
They've got great platforms. You keep on.
So what happened at that time? The news came out that that Royal Enfield is about to launch the 650 Twins. and of course with two models, right, the GT and the Interceptor, and they looked very similar to the Street Twin. And we were just, I was just excited to know about the cost of the bikes. But then of course when they were launched at 2.5 starting and going all the way up to almost 3, that was like a bargain. And I thought that okay, if these ride even 60% close to the Street Twin, I'm gonna pick up a GT or the Interceptor. So I had almost booked the Street Twin. In fact, I had given my papers. I was just about to pay the amount for the booking, the booking amount. I cancelled it. I went to the showroom, I test rode the GT, and I was blown away. I was like, why should I spend almost 8 lakh rupees on a bike that is 90% similar? I don't need all the tech, I don't need traction control.
Also, if you would have bought the Street Twin and doing such kind of mods,
it's just not possible.
It is possible.
It would have been very expensive. It would have cost me a bomb, but in India, to get all those parts, it's just not possible.
Absolutely. And
so, I mean, the only option I would have had is maybe fix a Triumph Tiger suspension. Maybe if I had a thought like this later on. But yeah, it's been great. And then what happened, when I got the GT, of course my dad rode it. And he was like, why the hell should I ride a Thunderbird now? So what we did, we sold off
something more powerful.
So we sold off the Thunderbird. And of course he was not used to the, cafe racer stance. So we got him Interceptor as well. Okay. Of course we had plans to ride to Ladakh, but because of the pandemic, that's not happening anytime soon.
My dad also, he also rides.
Yeah.
He's 63 and
yeah,
we ride together.
Awesome.
We also had plans this year to go to Ladakh. Because he has done Ladakh, by the way. I haven't.
Right.
Till now.
Yeah.
So we had plans, but all plans have gone down the drain. So guys, till now, we have discussed about Rishi's professional life. Why did he buy the GT? What all options that he had in his mind before going for the GT650? And now, we are going to talk about the mods that he has done in detail. We'll do the walk around of his motorcycle and he will explain about all the mods that he has done. So guys, this is the Himalayan 650 GT, as Rishi would like to call it. In all its full glory, you can see it looks beautiful. And Rishi is here with me to explain about all the mods that he has done. Rishi, all yours, man.
Okay, so we'll start from the back.
Yeah.
Okay. So first things first, the bike has, some rough edges right now.
Okay.
Because I'm just focusing on, how the bike rides, how it handles and all that. And then, once all that is set, I will then come to all the cosmetic bits. But let's start. Starting from the back, of course, we've got the famous AEW pipes, right?
Our favorite.
Everyone has that.
Everyone's favorite.
The best sounding, in my opinion. Then I've upgraded the rear tire. Okay. It's a Dunlop Trailmax 150 70 18.
Alright. It looks quite wide.
It's because it's more of an all-terrain tire. So because of the tread pattern, it just looks as if it's wider. Yeah. But when it comes to
is the profile as same as the other Timsons and all people are using?
Yeah, it's 150/70 18. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. This comes as standard on the Honda Africa Twin.
Okay.
So it's a really heavy-duty tire, and this bike is very light for this particular tire.
Correct.
Then what I've done is I've just cleaned up the rear. Of course, I've done some jugaad just to hold the mudguard right now. I'm not really bothering about this. This is a generic tail light that's available on Amazon. Okay. I've relocated the indicators. I made these brackets myself. Of course, my dad helped me make these. Yeah, my dad helped me make these at home. So we just got a chimta. Twisted it, painted it, relocated the indicators myself.
I've also seen you've wrapped them, or is it just paint?
Yeah, so it's paint. Of course, it was coming off, so I've just put some wrap over that. Of course, these will get changed very soon. Maybe some KTM LED indicators or something like that. A bit more subtle.
You can look for the speed twin indicators like I have on my Interceptor.
Right.
You can have a look at those also.
The thing is that.
But then you don't need the tail light.
I don't need the tail light, of course. So that is another option. Okay, moving to the front. This is just a team number.
09, yeah.
Okay, and it's my date of birth as well.
Okay.
Right. So that is why it's a team number, and I like to put it on the bike. Okay. Just
So
in
your team, your golf team.
not golf. I used to play football in Delhi.
Okay.
With a company I was working with at that time, a golf company. So it was just my team number,
Okay.
right? And what you'll also see is that the total of my number on the number plate is also 9. 6 plus 2 plus 1, so that's 9. Originally, this was an Ice Queen white.
Okay.
So what I did, I first, of course, ran it like what it was initially for like a year, and then I got it wrapped black. Okay, and then of course I just wanted a bit more of contrast in this, so I got this white strip on the side as well, and of course the initials of my Instagram page, Mars Moto.
All right. So Mars Moto, guys. So it is a revelation. Rishi Seni is Mars Moto.
Right.
Okay. So why not paint? You've gone for a wrap.
Yeah.
Why not a complete change of the paint color?
Whenever I do something on the bike, I keep it reversible. Right? Till the time I'm absolutely sure that this is what I want, I will not change it.
I understand.
So,
yeah,
a lot of people have told me, cut the tail off. I was like, okay.
I always say that. Chop the tail.
Chop the tail off, but I just don't want to do some mods on this bike that are not reversible, right? If I want to make it into a cafe racer or a tourer, I should be able to do that because I plan to tour as well on this bike.
Yeah,
and
that is the reason, initially I also thought that I'll do touring on my Interceptor.
Yeah.
But later I realized my tail was quite chopped.
Exactly.
So I couldn't do it. That is the reason I bought the ADV 390. I'm touring on that.
Yeah. And the thing is that, these nuts over here, if you want to get a top rack for yourself, this is the only place you can actually mount it. So if I cut this off, then it's not possible. Then the versatility is gone. Now coming to the main part.
Yes, the handlebar.
Okay. Starting with the handlebar, this is a handlebar from the Thunderbird 350X. Okay. It's wide, it's tall as compared to an Interceptor handlebar. So the first choice was to get this. The upper clamp is from the Interceptor.
This one.
Yeah, this one.
tree.
Yeah, because if you have to change the handlebar, you have to change it, right?
You need those holes to mount it.
Yeah, to mount it.
Yeah.
Now I just got these risers, adjustable risers very recently when I switched the suspension. I'll come to that later, why I did that.
Okay.
Generic handguards bought from one of the websites, right? But they are good quality. They've got a metal strip inside.
That is what
is important. Yeah. And what I've also felt is that there's less stress coming on the hands when you're riding at high speeds. So I can even rest my hands like this, and there's no wind blast, so I can just relax and keep riding. Standard RE bar and mirrors. Okay. Coming to the suspension. Now this is not entirely a Himalayan suspension. What I have done is I've retained the fork legs, okay, because what that does is it gives me the ability to keep the stock rim, the stock caliper, and the stock disc brake. Right?
Yeah.
So less complications.
Correct.
But
and your ABS also works fine.
ABS also works fine.
Yeah.
What we have done is, so these shocker rods, they are from the Himalayan.
Okay.
Okay. And all the internals, the springs and whatever is there inside is all from the Himalayan.
Okay.
But what I've done is, because the Himalayan is a little bouncy, and when you're cornering hard, the suspension should not be that soft.
Absolutely.
So we've just put like 2 or 3 inches of preload inside that just compresses the springs.
Did you also change the fork oil?
So in the first stage, we put about 200 ml of fork oil and 200 ml of engine oil, which makes it really dense in each of the pipes. But then it was too stiff. So what I did, I got the entire oil out, and then we just got 400 ml of fork oil in each of them. So now it's just perfect.
Okay. So did you raise your rear suspension also?
Not yet. It's at the highest setting right now.
Okay.
I was looking for a long travel suspension, but of course it's just hard to find. Okay. So what I've done is I've spoken.
The Interceptor or the GT rear suspension, it is the tallest.
Yeah.
Even the Free Twin or the Bonnies, they're short.
Yeah. So what I have done is I've spoken to a guy from down south. He's actually making risers for me.
Okay.
Right. So the travel will essentially stay the same. Now you see, but the ground clearance will go up, and you know this slant that is there on the bike, it will not be there anymore. It'll be a lot more balanced.
Okay.
And of course, I think the ground clearance is about 220 mm right now. It will go up to more than 230, 235.
220.
Yeah, I can like do whatever.
So, Rishi, if I may ask, how much suspension travel have you gained after this? Over the Interceptor?
Realistically, you see, the stock bike gives you about 110 mm of suspension travel. With this, it's about 150, 160. I'm not too sure, but it doesn't give you the real 200 mm suspension travel.
Okay.
Because of the stock fork
So
legs.
in case somebody decides to even change these legs,
Yeah.
then they'll get the entire 200 mm.
Yes, they will.
But then there are the other problems of
Exactly.
ABS not working.
Exactly.
You have to change the caliper and
Yeah.
all.
I mean, to mount the same rim on that, you know, the complete setup, I think there are some complications when it comes to, you know, installing the axle. But I just did not have that patience. I just wanted to do this first. You see, it's at the first stage right now.
Okay.
I consider there are at least 5 stages of this. The second stage will be tuning up the rear.
So I think we are seeing something like a Scrambler 1200 in the making.
Could be, because that is what I actually looked at. So the thing, I'll tell you a true story again.
Okay.
When I was getting this, I was getting the Street Twin first, and then I got this. Now I thought that okay, I'll upgrade to the Scrambler 1200, but then I thought, why spend so much money when I can just make Scrambler 1200 from here? So this is exactly, I mean, I've got this inspiration from the Scrambler 1200 XE. What this is just a stock mudguard that comes on the Interceptor and the GT. But you see the plate that holds the number plate. I just carved it out.
Okay.
And that is what holds this over here.
Amazing.
And the stock mudguard has been chopped off from here so that, you know, the muck
for a
doesn't
lot of
stuck
people,
in.
you know, this is just an aesthetic thing that people do to make their motorcycles look like an ATV.
Yeah.
So can you just tell us how does a raised fender help, and also when you chop it off, what are the benefits you get after chopping the original fender?
So what happens is when you go into, you know, extreme trails where there's a lot of mud, right?
Okay.
And you have knobby tires. Of course, these are not extremely knobby, but I might go for that. But even in this, when you go in extreme trails and, you know, a lot of mud gets stuck in these grooves, okay? So there are high chances that, you know, when you're doing trails, that gets stuck between your tire and the fender, and it might just damage your tire or will not let you move at that pace.
I understand, but then why even leave this one?
This is just for this. This is because, first of all, when your tire is rotating, there is some, you know,
to protect the radiator.
to protect the radiator. I have retained this, but of course the front has been chopped out because it was not required.
Correct.
And I have gone into muck, and what I've seen is the muck doesn't essentially get stuck over here.
Okay.
Because everything flying from here comes to this side, but anything that comes till here gets stuck over here.
Okay.
Hence,
At least
I've
some
chopped it
protection
off.
from slush.
Yes.
Okay. Now let's talk about this odd-looking shield. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Looks odd, but does it help somewhere?
Yeah. So initially, I had the stock, you know, the small windshield that comes from RE. But you know, it was the fly screen, the normal fly screen. That's why you see the stock mounts over here, right? I did not essentially like how the Interceptor tall fly screen looked like, so I was like, okay, let's do something different. So what I did, I got an accessory windshield that's meant for an FZ25.
Okay.
Okay. I chopped it off from the bottom.
Okay.
Shaped it, carved it. I've got all the tools at home. So my dad is really fond of working on everything. So I've got everything. So I chopped it off, melted 2 holes over here and 2 over here.
I was about to ask this.
Yeah.
The distance between the holes.
Yeah.
It's stock, but yeah, you melted them. Yeah.
So this is actually supposed to be mounted this way on the FZ. So I flipped it around and now it works.
This is the USD shield. You've seen USD forks, and this is the USD shield.
So yeah, but now, you know, of course, I plan to go on tours because of course borders have opened up.
Yeah.
So I'm getting the carbon racing windshield. So let's see how that works. So I'll keep this for city use. When I have to go for long tours, I'll just put that.
So guys, we have till now seen all the visual upgrades that Rishi has done to his motorcycle. Now let's talk about the upgrade that you have done inside the motorcycle. Yeah.
Yeah. So of course we already spoke about the EW pipes. Of course, that is one of the main upgrades that you can do as a first one, right? Because first of all, it's really light, helps in weight reduction, and a lot of sources say that if you install free flow pipes without, of course, changing the bend pipe, you will get at least 3 to 4 horsepower of gain, right?
But nobody has dyno tested yet.
No one has.
There give a claim about power gains, but
well, there is, if you've heard of Tech Bike Paths, the guy is based out of the UK.
Yeah.
He's done some tests
on the AEW?
On the AEW.
Okay.
Because I got to know, or if you look at their Tech Cannon silencers, they are essentially just AEW pipes rebranded as Tech. Okay. So I've seen that, I know that.
Okay.
And he claims that if you get an air filter with those Cannon silencers, then you get about 4 bhp gain at the rear wheel.
Oh.
That's what he claims. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But when you ride also, once you get these, you just feel that instant acceleration.
So Rishi, you said you have also installed the air filter.
Yeah.
Which one is it?
So I've got the DNA air filter.
Okay.
That was, I think, essentially meant for the twins. They made it specially for the twins. And I think that was the first company that launched an air filter for these bikes. I don't have that stage 2 plate and all that fancy stuff. What I have done is, there's a stock plate. It's covered with a piece of plastic on the top. So the bike is not able to breathe so freely. So what I did, I just chopped that off.
Okay.
So it still has the mounts. It holds the filter in place, but it's totally free flow now.
Okay. Right. So that's like stage 2 of the DNA filter.
Yeah. So that is essentially what I've done for the performance. Of course, I have more plans right now.
So Rishi, how much have you spent on the motorcycle till date? From the stock GT build to this?
Well, not a lot, because if I find something, I just don't go straight away and buy it. I always look for alternates, right?
Okay.
So like you said that I can get the Triumph indicators. We know a set costs you about 15,000-16,000 rupees, right? So I'm actually looking for something else.
Okay.
If I'm able to find something that is cheaper than that, I will go for that instead of going for the Triumph.
That's right anyway.
In total, I have spent around 60,000-70,000 rupees.
Okay.
I think with the suspension and all the setting that I have to do, it will go up to 1 lakh. But this is pretty cheap. I mean, to switch a suspension is not a lot. But of course, if you take all the performance mods, the cosmetics, the tires, the sprocket, and of course the suspension at the front and the handlebar change with the clamps, I think it's gone up to 1 lakh.
Alright.
But I'm not sure, maybe between 70,000 to 1 lakh, but not more than that. So it's not that expensive, anyone can do it.
Thank you. So guys, it has been a fabulous Himalayan morning with Rishi Saini and talking about his Himalayan 650 GT. I think Royal Enfield should get a few clues from this motorcycle, as the entire community is waiting for a 650 engine in the Himalayan. So for now, this is it. You can spend about 70,000 rupees on this motorcycle or on a GT or an Interceptor, and you can build it like this. And you can do all your touring and all your off-roading with the same motorcycle.
You want to ride it?
Sure. So guys, while I go take a ride of this motorcycle, why don't you click like and subscribe to our YouTube channel called happinessperkm. So guys, in case you have any more questions on this build, you can directly ask Rishi Saini on his Instagram handle called themask.moto101, or you can write an email to me at sumit@happinessperkm.com. Thank you for watching.